At 76, the world reflects on Ozzy Osbourne, the legendary Prince of Darkness, who helped shape the sound and spirit of heavy metal. Few names in rock history resonate with such lasting intensity. More than an icon, he became a symbol recognized across generations and cultures. Yet as time softened the roar around him, the final chapters of his life unfolded in unexpected stillness. The spotlight mattered less, the labels faded away, and what remained was a quieter pursuit, a turn inward toward meaning, memory, and the simple weight of being human beyond the myth. Instead, Ozzy's thoughts gradually settled on something intensely personal, a quiet hope that only his wife, Sharon, truly understood. It wasn't a dramatic request or a grand gesture, but a deeply symbolic desire that came to define his final chapter and offered him a rare sense of calm. If Ozzy Osbourne's journey has ever made you smile, pause, or feel inspired, take a moment to support the story by liking this video and subscribing so you don't miss more unforgettable moments. Drop a 1 in the comments if his music or life has ever spoken to you, or a 0 if you feel differently. Now let's step into this intimate chapter and explore what ultimately gave Ozzy a sense of peace at the end of his path. Weeks later, the world stood still as Ozzy Osbourne, the voice that shaped entire eras of rock, approached the closing movement of an extraordinary life. His legacy endures as something vast and undeniable, a journey marked by intensity, creativity, and a sound that permanently altered the direction of music. In his final months, Ozzy appeared keenly aware of how fragile time truly is. After years of living with Parkinson's disease, his strength had slowly faded, bringing with it a quiet understanding that every remaining moment carried rare significance. Throughout this period, Sharon Osbourne, his constant presence through every rise and fall, understood the gravity of his condition long before the world did. More than a partner, she was his anchor and closest ally, walking beside him through the unseen, difficult days. With unwavering devotion, Sharon focused on one purpose alone, ensuring that Ozzy's last chapter was guided by serenity, compassion, and a sense of peace beyond the noise of fame. The final chapter of Ozzy Osbourne's life became more than a moment of farewell. It stood as a quiet tribute to Sharon's devotion and her resolve to protect the memories they had built together. While facing the pain of watching her lifelong partner grow frail, she also embraced the role of honoring his deepest hopes. In moments heavy with emotion, Sharon revealed remarkable strength and unwavering care, remaining beside Ozzy as they both moved toward what could not be avoided. Though he no longer possessed the energy to return to the passions that once defined him, Ozzy spent his final days surrounded by family, steadied by Sharon's presence and compassion. In the end, his story was not only about the close of a legendary life, but about enduring love, quiet sacrifice, and a musical legacy destined to resonate far beyond time. Parkinson's disease is known for its steady, unforgiving progression, and over time it quietly affected many aspects of Ozzy Osbourne's physical strength, most noticeably his mobility, as Sharon once reflected in an earlier conversation. While it was understood that his health could not return to its former state, witnessing a performer once defined by boundless stage presence grow physically vulnerable carried deep emotional weight. Yet what left the strongest impression was Ozzy's enduring inner force. As his body slowed, his clarity and sense of humor remained remarkably intact. Those closest to him often recalled his sharp wit and natural warmth, how he could still lift spirits, soften difficult moments, and remind everyone of the soul that had always been at his core. Even amid limitation, Ozzy remained a wellspring of light and resilience for the people who loved him most. Even as Ozzy Osbourne's physical strength slowly faded, the voice that defined his legacy remained remarkably unchanged. Fans who had followed his journey for decades often reflected on how that sound still carried its familiar depth and emotional pull, as if untouched by time itself. While his body no longer reflected the raw momentum of his early years, his voice continued to resonate with clarity, feeling, and presence, drawing listeners in and reminding them why his impact was so profound. It stood as a quiet affirmation of Ozzy Osbourne's rare gift and the lasting force of his music, a legacy certain to endure in the hearts of those who listened, long beyond any single moment in time. It was a powerful contrast, a body growing frail, while a spirit seemed sustained by something far beyond the physical. As Ozzy Osbourne continued to face the steady challenges of Parkinson's, he appeared to draw from a deep inner resolve that guided him through his final days. Those nearest to him sensed a shift in his presence during those later weeks. He became calmer, more reflective, as though each passing day invited him to revisit the many chapters of his remarkable life. In quiet moments with Sharon, his thoughts often returned to treasured memories, the raw beginnings with Black Sabbath, the defining milestones of his solo path, and the complex yet enduring love that shaped their family. Few lives could be described as fully lived as Ozzy Osbourne's. As time took on new value, he chose to spend it in reflection, honoring the journey he had walked and the legacy destined to outlast him. Sharon Osbourne later alluded to those private moments, sharing that Ozzy had entrusted her with a few deeply personal matters he felt needed resolution before he could truly feel at ease. His reflections were not simply about unfinished wishes. They revealed a man searching for balance, clarity, and quiet understanding after a life defined by intensity and achievement. Whatever it was, Sharon once suggested, she made it her purpose to carry it forward. For her, this commitment rose beyond devotion or responsibility. It became a solemn promise to protect what held the greatest meaning for him. In those final weeks, Sharon was more than a loving partner. She was his constant center, safeguarding his spirit, his legacy, and the peace he sought at the end of his journey. It was neither a simple gesture nor a symbolic idea. It was an intensely personal wish, one that Sharon Osbourne accepted with the full weight of devotion, loyalty, and responsibility. As his wife, lifelong partner, and trusted guide, she committed herself to honoring that final hope, regardless of how challenging the path might be. When news of Ozzy Osbourne's passing on July 22nd reached the world, it marked a profound moment, the quiet close of an era that reshaped rock history. Yet for those who stood closest to him, the moment carried a gentle sense of resolve. Ozzy did not drift away unnoticed. He met the end with intention and inner strength, leaving behind a life brought to completion on his own terms, a final note as distinctive and enduring as the legend he became. In his final days, Sharon Osbourne remained constantly by his side, ensuring that each moment unfolded in alignment with Ozzy's wishes. With steady resolve and boundless care, she became more than a devoted partner. She was his closest presence, the one who helped give form to what mattered most to him at the end. Those last moments were shaped by tenderness and quiet guardianship, balancing respect for his hopes with a gentle awareness of what lay ahead. And when the moment arrived, it was not an empty conclusion, but a purposeful farewell, defined by calm, completion, and the clear feeling that Ozzy Osbourne's journey had reached its natural end, exactly as he had envisioned. Ozzy Osbourne's final wish carried deep emotional weight, yet it was honored in a way that reflected who he truly was, grounded in resolve, intention, and respect for the life he had shaped. And the person who ensured that wish was fulfilled was Sharon Osbourne, the woman who had walked beside him for more than 4 decades. What they shared went far beyond marriage. It was a lasting bond forged through public scrutiny, private struggles, and the constant pressure of worldwide attention. Sharon was never simply his wife. She was his trusted voice, his guiding force, and his unwavering partner, standing with Ozzy through every turning point, especially in the most challenging chapters of his life. Across every rise and fall of their shared path, Sharon Osbourne has shown a love defined by steadiness and deep commitment. Together, she and Ozzy navigated countless trials, from personal struggles to the unpredictable weight of a life lived under constant attention. Yet it was within those moments of difficulty that their bond revealed its true strength, reflecting a connection shaped by endurance, understanding, and genuine respect. The unity of the Osbourne family stands as a quiet reminder that love is not measured by the absence of hardship, but by the choice to face it together, growing more resilient, more connected, and more whole with each passing challenge. Sharon Osbourne has always been far more than Ozzy's wife. She was his anchor, his closest confidant, and often the steady force that helped keep him balanced amid life's turbulence. Their bond was shaped not only by affection, but by loyalty, trust, and shared resilience. They first crossed paths in the late 1970s, during a time when Sharon's father, Don Arden, was closely involved with Black Sabbath. From the very beginning, her sharp instincts, inner strength, and undeniable presence created a natural connection with Ozzy. What started as attraction soon evolved into a partnership grounded in empathy and mutual understanding. As the years passed, Sharon became not only a devoted partner, but also the guiding influence who helped Ozzy face some of the most challenging chapters of his career, particularly during periods of deep personal struggle and uncertainty. In 1982, Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne were married, marking a pivotal moment that shaped both their personal lives and their shared path forward. Through decades marked by constant challenges, their connection only deepened, evolving into one of rock music's most enduring partnerships, a reflection of commitment, sacrifice, and lasting devotion. Together, they faced every trial, from the uncertainties of Ozzy's career to deeply personal struggles, continually drawing strength from one another. Their relationship became a steady foundation amid the intensity of fame and the pressures of life in the spotlight. Today, the story of Sharon and Ozzy stands not merely as a famous rock union, but as a lasting reminder of love, loyalty, and resilience forged through every test of time. Throughout Ozzy Osbourne's long and widely known struggle with addiction, Sharon remained steadily at his side, acting as both his closest companion and his emotional ground. During the most difficult periods, when Ozzy confronted his deepest internal battles, Sharon was the one constant presence in his life. Her patience, resolve, and quiet determination became a source of stability, helping him endure moments that could have overwhelmed many others. She was more than a devoted partner. She became his guiding force, supporting him as he worked to preserve his career, his sense of purpose, and the determination to move forward, even when everything around him felt uncertain. In the years that followed, Sharon Osbourne evolved into far more than a devoted partner. She became a formidable presence in her own right. From guiding Ozzy's solo path to helping bring the groundbreaking MTV series The Osbournes to life, She played a central role in shaping both their public journey and private world. The show offered an honest window into their household, capturing not only the disorder and humor, but also the genuine closeness that held their family together. Throughout it all, Sharon displayed exceptional strength and perspective, navigating the weight of visibility while carefully safeguarding what mattered most. No matter how intense the outside noise grew, she ensured that warmth, unity, and shared laughter remained the core of their home. The Osbournes introduced the family to an entirely new audience, viewers who may not have followed Ozzy's music, yet were drawn in by his humor, honesty, and the unpredictable rhythm of their everyday life. More than simple entertainment, the series revealed a different dimension of Ozzy, one that felt approachable, playful, and unmistakably human. Audiences came to know not just the Prince of Darkness, but a devoted father and husband who cared deeply for his family and allowed his imperfections to be seen. The connection between Ozzy, Sharon, and their children became the emotional heart of the show, illustrating how affection, laughter, and understanding carried them through disorder and challenge. Even for those unfamiliar with his music, the family's unpolished sincerity proved impossible to ignore. A reflection of authenticity that resonated far beyond the screen. Yet that connection grew even stronger as Ozzy Osbourne's health began to change. In 2003, he received a diagnosis that he chose to keep private for many years, only sharing it publicly in 2020. This moment became one of the most demanding chapters of his life, testing not only his inner resolve, but the unity of his family as well. Over time, he faced persistent physical challenges and the emotional weight of coming to terms with circumstances beyond his control. For someone long associated with unfiltered energy and fearless presence, the adjustment was profound. Still, throughout every stage, Sharon and their family remained his greatest source of encouragement, helping him meet each day with resilience, warmth, and the same unmistakable spirit that had always defined him. Sharon Osbourne, who later spoke candidly about the heartache of witnessing Ozzy's condition progress, carried much of the emotional and practical responsibility during those demanding years. She was more than a caring partner. She became a steady source of strength, present whenever Ozzy needed grounding and reassurance. Sharon was also the first to recognize that the era of relentless touring, high-voltage performances, and life defined by constant motion was coming to a close. After decades of facing every challenge together, she understood that their path was shifting into a different season, one shaped less by stages and timelines, and more by stillness and shared moments. Reflecting on that transition, she once explained that after a lifetime spent moving from one commitment to the next, they simply wanted the freedom to live quietly, make their own choices, and step away from the pressure of rigid schedules. In later conversations, Sharon Osbourne gently suggested that Ozzy had shared with her something deeply significant, a final intention he hoped to see realized before the end. While she chose to keep the details private, her resolve to honor that trust was unmistakable, carrying it forward with care, respect, and quiet devotion. Those final weeks were not defined solely by farewell, but by intention. Moments shaped by closeness, reflection, and a subdued sense of joy. Sharon made every effort to draw loved ones close, creating an atmosphere of warmth and familiarity around Ozzy. In doing so, she offered him what mattered most in the end: calm, unity, and the comfort of knowing that his story, his spirit, and his legacy would continue far beyond that moment. The legacy of the Prince of Darkness, born John Michael Osbourne on December 3, 1948 in Aston, Birmingham, is a story shaped by transformation and a seismic shift in music history. Rising from a modest working-class upbringing, Ozzy Osbourne pushed beyond limitations to become a worldwide figure, an artist whose voice and creative instinct altered the course of rock music. His path was never simply about recognition or achievement. It reflected persistence, imagination, and the lasting influence of artistic expression. In 1968, alongside his bandmates in Black Sabbath, Ozzy helped give form to an entirely new sound, heavy metal, marked by powerful riffs, shadowed atmospheres, and emotionally charged themes. What began as a bold exploration soon grew into a global movement, redefining musical boundaries and leaving an imprint that continues to inspire generations long after its first echo. Black Sabbath's debut album, released in 1970, unveiled enduring tracks such as Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs. These songs did more than push the limits of rock. They altered the musical direction of an entire generation. Through weighty riffs, shadowed melodies, and reflective lyrics, the band captured the mood of a time shaped by unrest, doubt, and a desire for change. Their sound spoke to listeners searching for purpose amid uncertainty, firmly establishing Black Sabbath as trailblazers of modern rock culture. Songs like Paranoid evolved into lasting anthems, while Ozzy Osbourne's commanding voice and distinctive presence defined the spirit of a new genre, securing his place as an artist whose impact would resonate far beyond his era. With a remarkable solo career and defining tracks like Crazy Train, Ozzy Osbourne affirmed his place among the most influential rock vocalists in music history. The song's instantly recognizable guitar lines, paired with Ozzy's powerful and charged delivery, transformed it into more than a hit. It became a lasting emblem of determination and creative force, yet his influence extended well beyond sound alone. Through the groundbreaking MTV series The Osbournes, Ozzy connected with a completely new audience, turning his family into cultural touchstones. The show revealed a side of him rarely seen before, humorous, sincere, and unmistakably human, while highlighting the unique bond he shared with Sharon and their children. Together, they became a familiar presence around the world, securing the Osbourne name as a lasting part of modern pop culture. Despite the many honors he received over the years, from induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Ozzy Osbourne remains above all else one of the most enduring figures in music history. His influence reaches far beyond recordings or live performances. It continues through the artists he inspired and the countless listeners whose lives were shaped by his sound. Each time his voice rises from a speaker, each time a new generation discovers his music, Ozzy's presence endures, a lasting symbol of creative freedom, fearless expression, and the transformative power of music. He is, and will always be, a singular force, the legendary Prince of Darkness, whose impact continues to illuminate the path of rock history. For this final chapter, Ozzy Osbourne relied on Sharon's guidance. There was only one place that carried the meaning he was searching for: Birmingham, the city that shaped him from the very beginning. It was more than a point of origin. It was the root of his identity and the core of everything he became. This industrial city, often recognized as the birthplace of heavy metal, gave rise to Black Sabbath and to a sound that forever altered the course of rock music. For Ozzy, Birmingham was not simply where the journey started. It was woven into his spirit, the place where his voice, his vision, and his transformation first found direction and echoed out into the world. In the months leading up to July 2025, the city of Birmingham began to transform into a living homage to Black Sabbath and their iconic frontman, Ozzy Osbourne. City leaders unveiled the Summer of Sabbath, a wide-reaching celebration dedicated to honoring the band's lasting impact on music and global culture. It was more than a scheduled program. It felt like a symbolic return home for the figures who had carried Birmingham's name onto the world stage. Across the city, visual tributes, live performances, and public recognitions emerged, each reflecting the sound and spirit that had shaped entire generations. Birmingham awarded its highest distinctions to Black Sabbath, and especially to Ozzy, acknowledging their extraordinary influence and permanently securing their legacy within both the city's identity and the broader story of music history. Among the many tributes, the four original members of Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, were awarded the Freedom of the City of Birmingham, one of the highest honors bestowed by the place that shaped their journey. To mark their remarkable impact, the city renamed a bridge in the band's name, creating a permanent symbol of the legacy they built together. A commemorative bench was also revealed, and most striking of all, a towering mural of Ozzy Osbourne appeared on the side of Villa Park Stadium. It quickly became a meeting point not only for football supporters, but for generations of heavy metal fans who gathered to share music, memory, and respect. That night became more than a tribute. It stood as Birmingham's heartfelt salute to its most iconic sons, a moment of collective pride, gratitude, and recognition of the lasting imprint Black Sabbath left on the world. This return was far more than a performance. It became an emotional gathering that reached beyond music itself. Admirers from across the globe arrived in Birmingham, transforming the moment into a powerful celebration of connection, memory, and shared history. One visitor from the United States described the experience as something that could happen only once in a lifetime, capturing the feeling that filled the city that night. Moments like these reflected the true spirit of the occasion, a space where the distance between artist and audience quietly dissolved. It wasn't simply about hearing familiar songs in person. It was about honoring a bond formed over decades, shaped by shared feeling, collective energy, and the enduring presence of Ozzy Osbourne. You could feel the weight of history in the atmosphere. Those words echoed far beyond a single voice, capturing the shared emotion of everyone gathered for that rare and unforgettable moment. Even those who had followed Ozzy Osbourne's path from a distance sensed that something exceptional was taking place. An evening that honored legacy while quietly pointing toward the future of rock. Global media quickly recognized the significance, noting the scale and emotional depth of the celebration. With renowned artists from across rock and metal, a stadium filled with more than 40,000 devoted fans and millions more watching around the world, the occasion became more than a live event. It stood as a worldwide tribute to a figure whose influence continues to shape the story of music itself. Even before Ozzy Osbourne's passing, waves of recognition were already spreading across the world, reflecting not only the scale of his achievements, but the deep imprint he left on rock and metal culture. His presence, both as a performer and as a lasting symbol, became a guiding light for generations of artists who followed his path. When news of his passing emerged, fellow musicians, those who had shared stages, challenges, and defining moments with him, responded with profound respect and emotion. Messages of tribute arrived from across the industry, from longtime companions to globally renowned figures, all acknowledging how Ozzy's creativity, spirit, and fearless individuality had influenced their own journeys. Without doubt, the story of Ozzy Osbourne will endure, a voice, a vision, and a legacy that continues to inspire the world of music. Musicians, collaborators, and leaders within the industry all recognize the depth of Ozzy Osbourne's influence. His career unfolded across decades, marked by creativity, reinvention, and unfiltered honesty, a body of work that reshaped the sound and spirit of modern music. As his presence on stage and in life gradually reached its final moments, a shared sense of loss spread throughout the global music community. Artists and listeners alike understood that the farewell ahead was not simply for a performer. Ozzy Osbourne stood as a defining force in culture, someone who permanently altered rock and metal, leaving behind an influence so expansive that it will continue to endure. Sir Elton John, one of Ozzy Osbourne's longtime friends, was among the first to share his feelings publicly when the news emerged. In a moving tribute, Elton described him as a dear friend and a true pioneer who had secured his place among rock's most enduring figures. His words carried not only admiration, but a clear recognition of the lasting mark Ozzy left on the history of music. His passing represented a deep loss, not only for those closest to him, but for the worldwide music community shaped by his influence. How do you reflect on the legacy Ozzy Osbourne leaves behind and the impact he had on the world of rock? Share your thoughts in the comments, and remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay connected with more powerful stories about the icons who changed music forever.